This just happened, and it could change everything. What began as a brutal military showdown is now turning into something even more unpredictable, a full-scale battle over power, pressure, image, and perception. And tonight, Donald Trump is facing a new kind of blowback from Iran. Not just missiles, not just defiance at the negotiating table, but a coordinated wave of public mockery, propaganda, and digital humiliation coming straight from Iranian embassy accounts around the world. In other words, while Trump tries to project force, Iran is trying to flip the script and make him look weak, angry, reckless, and outplayed. Here's what we know so far. The crisis has escalated fast. Trump has issued increasingly extreme threats tied to the Strait of Hormuz, the vital shipping route that carries a huge share of the world's oil. He has warned that if Iran does not agree to a deal and restore full shipping access, the United States could target major Iranian infrastructure, including bridges and power plants. In one of his most explosive messages yet, Trump said an entire civilization could die if a deal was not reached by his deadline. That language has sent shockwaves across the region and across global markets. But here's where it gets interesting. Iran is not responding the way Trump may have expected. Instead of looking cornered, Tehran is projecting defiance. Iranian officials have reportedly rejected a temporary ceasefire proposal and are demanding something much bigger, a permanent end to the war, security guarantees, and relief from sanctions. And while talks are still being described as active through regional mediators, the public message coming from Iran is clear. They do not trust Washington. They do not believe Trump's pressure campaign, and they are not rushing to give him the political victory he wants. Now, this is important. The story is no longer just about bombs and diplomacy. It is also about narrative. And on that front, Iran has opened a second battlefield in social media. Over the past days and weeks, Iranian state-linked messaging, including embassy and mission accounts in multiple countries, has surged across platforms with memes, taunts, AI-generated videos, and sarcastic posts aimed directly at Trump. The tone is sharp, mocking, and calculated. Instead of sober diplomatic language, many of these accounts are acting almost like political troll pages, but with a state-backed message behind them. That shift matters because it shows Iran is trying to do more than survive the pressure. It is trying to embarrass Trump and shape global opinion at the same time. Embassy accounts have mocked his language, mocked his threats, mocked his deadlines, and mocked the idea that Iran is eager to surrender. Some posts have ridiculed his tone as crude and childish. Others have suggested his threats reveal panic rather than strength. In short, Iran is trying to show the world that the more Trump rages, the less control he appears to have. Let me explain. In a more traditional crisis, governments use embassies to project calm, diplomacy, and formal talking points. But this campaign looks different. Iranian accounts in countries across Europe, Asia, Africa, and Latin America have reportedly adopted local tones, local references, and targeted messaging styles to make their attacks more effective. Some posts are ironic, some are theatrical, some are openly insulting, and some use AI-generated images and short clips to present Trump as unstable, dishonest, or humiliated. It is propaganda, yes, but it is propaganda designed for the social media age, where a viral meme can travel faster than a formal statement. And that may be the most surprising part of this story. Iran is not just speaking to its own people. It is speaking to the world, and more specifically to audiences that are already uneasy about this war. That includes critics of U.S. military escalation, nervous oil markets, and even parts of Trump's own political coalition that are deeply skeptical of another prolonged Middle East conflict. Analysts have noted that Iran's online messaging appears focused on exploiting fault lines in American politics, especially the growing debate over whether this war is strategic, legal, sustainable, or completely out of control. Background matters here. This confrontation did not begin with memes. It grew out of escalating strikes, retaliation, regional fears, and failed diplomacy. Trump has tried to frame his approach as strength through pressure, a familiar tactic. Issue a deadline, threaten overwhelming force, and force the other side to blink. But Iran's leadership appears to believe that giving in under public threat would only invite more pressure later. So instead, they are trying to project endurance. Their message is basically this: if Washington thinks more threats will make Iran fold, it is badly misreading the moment. That misreading could have real consequences. The Strait of Hormuz is not just a symbol. It is one of the most important energy choke points on Earth. Any prolonged disruption there can send oil prices climbing, shake shipping insurance, rattle stock markets, and deepen fears of a wider regional war. Even if a full closure is partial or uneven, the uncertainty alone is enough to trigger global anxiety. That is why every new Trump deadline, every new Iranian rejection, every new strike or counterstrike immediately becomes an international story. And there is another layer to this. Legal experts and human rights observers have raised alarm over the language surrounding attacks on civilian infrastructure. Threatening to wipe out power plants and bridges is not just controversial politically, it raises serious questions under international law. Trump, however, has brushed aside those concerns and continued to present the threat as necessary leverage. Supporters argue he is trying to break Tehran's will and force a deal. Critics argue that the rhetoric is reckless, destabilizing, and morally dangerous. Public reaction has exploded accordingly. On one side, Trump loyalists say the president is showing toughness, refusing to back down, and sending a message that U.S. power still means something. They argue Iran only responds to force and that anything less than maximum pressure would signal weakness. But on the other side, critics say this is exactly the kind of impulsive escalation that can drag the United States deeper into another war with no clear endgame. They see the social media battle as a symptom of a larger truth that Trump may be winning headlines but losing control of the narrative. And that narrative fight matters more than many people realize. Wars are no longer fought only on land, sea, and air. They are fought in clips, captions, screenshots, hashtags, and viral images. Iran appears to understand that. Instead of presenting itself only as a besieged state, it is trying to appear confident, culturally agile, and psychologically aggressive. The objective is simple: turn Trump's own style against him. If he uses shock language, respond with ridicule. If he boasts, answer with mockery. If he claims negotiations are close, post content suggesting no one is even taking him seriously. That does not mean Iran is winning in any traditional sense. Let's be clear about that. The military balance, the diplomatic pressure, and the human cost of this conflict are all still enormous. Iran remains under severe strain. Its economy is battered. Its people are living through fear, instability, and uncertainty. Communications disruptions and internal pressure have also been reported. So this is not a story of easy confidence. It is a story of strategic adaptation. Tehran appears to be compensating for battlefield pressure by trying to dominate the information battle. And in that sense, Trump may be getting a taste of his own medicine. For years, he used social media as a weapon to dominate attention, to insult rivals, to move markets, and to shape public emotion in real time. But now Iran is borrowing that playbook and escalating it. The irony is hard to miss. A president who built his brand on trolling is now being trolled by foreign state accounts that are speaking his language back to him, only with the goal of weakening his credibility on the world stage. But here's where this becomes even more serious. If diplomacy is truly still alive, then this kind of public humiliation campaign can make a deal harder, not easier. The more each side performs strength for its domestic audience, the less room there is for compromise. Trump does not want to look like he was forced into concessions. Iran does not want to look like it bowed to vulgar threats. So both sides keep escalating in public, now even while intermediaries reportedly continue trying to pass messages behind the scenes. That is why the next phase could be decisive. If Trump follows through on broader infrastructure attacks, the conflict could enter a much darker stage. If Iran continues to reject temporary arrangements and insists on deeper guarantees, talks could stall even further. And if the Strait of Hormuz remains a flashpoint, the global economic fallout could spread well beyond the region. Oil traders are watching. Shipping companies are watching. U.S. allies are watching. And ordinary people, from drivers paying more at the pump to investors watching volatile markets, may soon feel the effects directly. Now, there is also a strategic lesson here. Sometimes the most revealing sign in a conflict is not what governments say in official speeches, but how they behave when they think morale matters most. And what these Iranian accounts are signaling is not surrender, it is persistence. They are telling their audience that pressure has not broken them. They are telling Trump that fear is not the dominant emotion. And they are telling the wider world that Iran intends to fight not only with weapons and diplomacy, but with ridicule, symbolism, and relentless message warfare. Whether that strategy succeeds is another question. Propaganda can energize supporters, but it can also distort reality. Online bravado does not erase military losses, political risk, or the danger of catastrophic miscalculation. And yet, perception drives politics. If enough people begin to see Trump as lashing out rather than leading, then Iran's messaging campaign could have real impact. Not because a meme changes military facts, but because it changes how those facts are interpreted. So what are we really looking at tonight? We are looking at a war that is no longer confined to missiles and maps. We are looking at a president who tried to force a result through intimidation and an adversary that chose to answer not with submission but with mockery and defiance. We are looking at an information war layered on top of a military crisis with the Strait of Hormuz, global energy security, and regional stability all hanging in the balance. And we are looking at a moment that could define what comes next. If Trump's threats produce a breakthrough, he will claim strength worked. If they deepen the standoff, critics will say the opposite, that he escalated, overpromised, and handed Iran a propaganda gift. Either way, the stakes are enormous, because when diplomacy collapses and performance takes over, the danger is not just losing face. The danger is losing control. So tonight, the biggest question may not be whether Iran can mock Donald Trump online. It clearly can. The bigger question is whether this digital counterattack reflects something deeper. Say, a regime that feels cornered or a regime that believes it has found a way to turn Trump's pressure campaign back against him. And if that is what is happening, then this conflict may be entering a far more unpredictable phase than anyone expected. This story is moving fast, and in the next hours could be critical. Did Trump's ultimatum strengthen America's position, or did it hand Iran a new way to fight back? Let me know what you think. Is this pressure campaign forcing a deal, or is it pushing both sides closer to disaster?